Hey there, trail trekkers and tall tale seekers. You're tuned in to the 406 Life, the podcast where Montana Max, your Bigfoot buddy and outlaw gear mascot, yeah, that's me, leads you through the wild, weird, and wonderful corners of Montana. Each week we share stories, legends, and laughs from the last best place. So grab your boots and sense of adventure, because we're about to make some Montana-sized memories. This episode's powered by Outlaw Gear, where rebels get their style. Want to look legendary? Mosey over to I'mAnOutlaw.com and claim your outlaw status. Well, howdy there, friends. Welcome back to the 406 Life, Part 2 of Big Sky Country's Wildest Stories. I'm your host, Montana Max, and if you thought the first 5 stories were something else, just you wait. We've still got 5 unbelievable tales ahead. A polite bear hitting the rails in Kalispell, Shep the mutt who ran an entire town, Slim the horse who rolled out with a barrel of whiskey, Whiskers O'Malley conquering the rodeo ring, and that legendary Flying Outhouse in Havre. So grab your cold brew, settle in, and let's resume our journey. First on, bear on board, Kalispell's VIP passenger. All aboard for the most polite passenger Kalispell ever hosted, a black bear with a taste for travel and granola bars. It was a foggy dawn in 1912 when the Great Northern Railway's morning freight rumbled out of Whitefish, bound for West Glacier. Little did the crew know their unexpected VIP was already boarding in the baggage car. Around 5:30 a.m., Smoke Jumper Jenkins opened the baggage door to load mail bags, only to find a curious Bruin sniffing through travelers' trunks. The bear froze, big round eyes meeting Jenkins's. Instead of roaring or charging, the bear gave a polite huff, like a weary commuter who'd missed the first class of the day. This wasn't your average bear on the loose. Nah, this guy had manners. He ambled down the aisle, paused at the stack of trunks marked fragile glassware, sniffed once, then moved on, clearly respecting the boarding rules. By East Glacier, word had spread. There's a bear in the baggage car. The conductor clambered back, heart pounding, only to see the bear perched on a crate, chomping on a stolen granola bar like it was afternoon tea. Rather than panic, the bear offered up the half-eaten wrapper, almost like an apology. Conductor Rogers, a veteran of 20 years, tipped his hat and said, "Sir, you're traveling without a ticket." And the bear? He just shrugged his furry shoulders and reached for another bar. Realizing force wouldn't work, the crew improvised. They scattered a trail of granola crumbs, leading out the open baggage door at the next stop. The bear, as patient as a customs officer on break, followed the snack trail, ambled down the platform, and disappeared into the whispering pines, never once looking back. That bear had class. If I tried that, I'd probably end up stuck between the mailbags and a harmonica player begging for change. And that's the story of Kalispell's most courteous rail rider, proof that sometimes the wildest travelers are the ones who leave no footprint, except maybe a few crumbs. Stick around, because next we've got Sun River's dog mare who outran every political scandal in town. Ready for your next Montana home? Visit mostwantedrealestate.net, because that's how the West is sold. Let me introduce you to the one, and so far only, 4-legged mare in Montana history. Shep, the scrappy mutt of Sun River. It all started in 1924, when the real mayor fell ill right before Election Day, and the townsfolk, with ballots already printed and no time to reorder, did the only logical thing they could. The write-in votes rolled in, and wouldn't you know it, Shep, a local farm dog famous for chasing off coyotes and delivering the morning paper, rocketed to victory by a landslide. No human candidate could hold a candle to a dog who fetched mail before breakfast and never cheated on his taxes. Now Shep wasn't your pampered pedigree. He was part husky, part who knows what, and all heart. His first act as mayor, he ordered the fire department to provide every bathroom stall in the new town hall with chew toys. Keep morale high, he seemed to say. Every morning at 8 a.m., Shep would trot into City Hall, no driver's license required, and attend staff meetings with unparalleled dedication. He'd sit beside the council, tail thumping on the floor, as they debated road repairs and school budgets. Whenever a proposal stalled, he'd give a single, well-timed bark, prompting someone to say, "That's enough chatter. Let's vote." Under Mayor Shep's leadership, Sun River saw zero corruption scandals, because nobody could bribe a dog with campaign contributions. His platform was simple: more dog parks, mandatory afternoon naps, and free biscuits for all citizens, furry or otherwise. Shep even presided over ribbon cuttings, clippers in mouth, scissors in paw. Tourists flocked to Sun River just for a chance to shake paws with the mayor. Local businesses printed Kennel Club-endorsed stickers and saw sales soar. When election time came around again, the townsfolk debated, do we stick with Shep or risk a human? Of course, they kept their four-legged leader. He served 2 full terms, longer than any human mayor in those parts, and only stepped down when his muzzle turned gray and he decided it was time to chase fewer policy issues and more tennis balls. You think that's democracy in action? I once ran for mayor of the Pine Creek Forest, lost to a hedgehog who promised better mulch management. So next time you hear about political gridlock, remember Sun River's canine campaigns. Proof that sometimes the best leader is the one who greets you at the door, wags a lot, and never raises property taxes, unless, of course, you count the doggone good service fee. Up next, Slim's Whiskey-Stealin Horse in Virginia City. Get ready for a wild ride. All right, friends, saddle up for this one, because even the equines of Virginia City knew how to raise a ruckus back in the gold rush days. Meet Slim, a sorrel gelding with a gleam in his eye and a taste for the finer spirits. It was closing time at the Lucky Nugget Saloon. Miners had cashed out their stakes, and the last piano tune drifted into silence. But Slim wasn't ready to call it a night. He'd been eyeing that low-hung whiskey barrel behind the bar ever since the barkeep turned his back to count the day's takings. Now most horses stick to oats and hay, but Slim was no ordinary horse. With a nudge of his muzzle, he flicked open the barrel's spigot and let the amber liquid trickle into a bucket left for water. One sip led to another, and before long, Slim was tipping back the equivalent of 24 shots. The barkeep spun around, eyes wide as a moonlit desert sky, only to find Slim's head buried elbow-deep in the bucket. "That's no colt, he's a connoisseur," someone hollered. But Slim wasn't just sampling, he was on a mission. He pawed at the barrel, loosened it from its stand, and proceeded to roll that heavy cask out the back door. By the time the saloon doors burst open, Slim had the barrel halfway down Main Street, sending a trail of whiskey puddles that shone like liquid gold under the gaslights. Miners chased after him, lanterns swinging, but old Slim had the advantage of 4 swift legs and a very determined hangover in the making. Legend says he used the whiskey puddles as a slip and slide, giggling, well, as much as a horse can giggle, until he crashed headfirst into the trough outside Miss Lottie's boarding house. The barrel split open, whiskey gushed everywhere, and townfolk rushed in for the free-for-all tasting. By dawn, Slim was found lounging in a muddy puddle, tongue lolling, tail cocked in victory. The townspeople, bless their hearts, named that spot Bronco Boulevard in his honor, and placed a horseshoe wreath on the remnants of the barrel stave. If I tried that trick, I'd probably end up asking for a straw and a tiny umbrella. So next time you think your night out got out of hand, just be grateful you didn't outrun your ride and drag a whiskey barrel through 3 saloons. Up next, the cat rodeo champion of Havre 9 lives never looked so spry. Need shipping, shredding, prints, or a real street address? Helena's locally owned and operated the UPS store has you covered. Packing experts, mailbox services, notary, print. Located at 2047 North Last Chance Gulch. Stop by and get it done right. Folks, you've heard of calf roping, barrel racing, even steer wrestling. But have you ever seen a cat rodeo? Neither had we. Until Havre's annual Hi-Line Rodeo in 1937 turned chaos into comedy gold, courtesy of one scrappy barn cat. The clowns had just finished distracting the bulls when out of nowhere an orange tabby, later named Whiskers O'Malley, slipped through the chutes and vaulted onto the back of a startled yearling. The calf bolted, sending Whiskers into a 10-second ride that had the entire arena on its feet. Remember, this was a cowboy crowd used to rough stock. So when a tiny cat clung on like a furry miniature bronc rider, you could hear spurs jangling from laughter all the way to the concession stands. Whiskers wasn't just hanging on. He was holding down his seat, tail flicking with more swagger than a rodeo royalty. At one point, that yearling chucked him skyward, but Whiskers twisted midair and landed square on a barrel, backflipped off and skedaddled like he'd just checked "win the rodeo" off his to-do list. The announcer, nearly hoarse from hollering, bellowed, "By golly, folks, we have ourselves a champion. Give it up for Whiskers O'Malley." They hustled the cat into the ring, placed a tiny belt buckle around his neck, and raised his paw like he'd just conquered the Grand National. After that spectacle, the rodeo committee added a feline fancy exhibition, complete with miniature saddles and the world's smallest cowboy hat. Tourists came from dozens of miles away, hoping to see the kitty who outshone the cowboys. If I tried that, I'd probably end up tangled in my own tail and still lose to a cat. And that, dear listeners, is how a humble barn cat stampeded his way into Havre's history book and proved once and for all that courage comes in all sizes. Stick around for our grand finale, the Flying Outhouse of Havre. Trust me, you won't want to miss how an outhouse took flight in a Montana gale. This episode's powered by Outlaw Gear, where rebels get their style. Want to look legendary? Mosey over to I'mAnOutlaw.com and claim your outlaw status. All right, friends, brace yourselves. For this one, Mother Nature herself joined the circus. Picture a blustery spring afternoon on the High Line, wind whipping across Havre's flat plains like a runaway locomotive. Frank, a salt-of-the-earth local, minding his own business in his trusty backyard outhouse, had no idea he was about to take flight. 1 minute, Frank's enjoying a moment of peace, and maybe catching up on the latest county news. And the next, that little shack starts vibrating. The boards rattle like castanets, the roof pitches skyward, and whoosh! The whole contraption lifts off, carrying Frank and his morning paper on a hair-raising tour of the neighborhood. Neighbors gawked as Frank's outhouse sailed over barbed wire fences, did a graceful somersault midair, then crash-landed in old Mrs. McGillicuddy's alfalfa field. The door burst free, Frank staggered out, hair standing on end, eyes as wide as saucers, still clutching that day's Tribune. He dusted himself off, took a bow, and quipped, "Well, that's one way to beat the morning rush." One wag hollered, "Dorothy had her house, Havre's got Frank's loo." And just like that, the town had a brand new legend. For weeks afterward, folks nailed tongue-in-cheek flight instructions to the aftermath. Fasten seatbelt before use. Flight schedule subject to the wind. No smoking during takeoff. Carry-on baggage limited to newspapers and spittoons. They even painted Hi-Line Airlines above the door, because in Montana, if the wind's going to play pilot, you might as well sell tickets. I once tried flying, by jumping off a stump. But all I got was a bruised end and a bruised ego. So if you're living anywhere near Havre, or just about any place in Big Sky Country where Chinook winds howl, remember this: anchor your outhouses, chicken coops, and dreams. Otherwise, you might just be the next cabin crew in Max's Montana air. If these tales made you laugh, gasp, or almost spit out your coffee, please leave us a 5-star rating wherever you listen. Share this episode with friends and family. Everyone needs a little Big Sky magic in their day. For the full deep dive on each story, head over to the406life.com. And don't forget to follow us on Facebook and Instagram for daily snapshots of Montana mayhem and behind-the-scenes fun. Thanks for riding shotgun with me, Montana Max, on the 406 Life. Stay wild, stay curious, and keep your boots and your outhouses anchored tight. Until next time, Montana Max out. Got a Montana story, business, or unsolved mystery you want on the show? Head to the406life.com and drop me a line. No smoke signals required. Don't forget to hit subscribe so you never miss a stomp, stumble, or tall tale. Tell your friends, tell your grandma, heck, tell that guy who swears he saw me near Whitefish. I was just buying donuts, all right? Until next time, keep it outrageous, keep it kind, and keep living the 406 life. Montana Max, over and out. That's